The technology you're using right now exists because of her invention during World War II. Yet for decades, Hollywood stars got the credit while her name was erased from history. In the next 18 minutes, you'll discover how a Hollywood actress invented technology worth trillions, why the military rejected it, and the shocking reason her name was deliberately wiped from tech history books. Imagine this. It's 1940, and a glamorous Hollywood actress is secretly designing military technology in her spare time. Technology that would eventually become the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and even your cell phone. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of Hedy Lamar. In the 1940s, Hedy Lamar was one of the most famous women in the world. Her face graced movie posters across America. Studios marketed her as the most beautiful woman in the world. But what they didn't advertise was that she was also a brilliant inventor who created technology that would change our world forever. Think about that. A Hollywood star creating military technology during World War II, at night, alone, the star behind the invention. When you think of inventors, you probably picture men in lab coats or tech bros in hoodies. You definitely don't picture a Hollywood bombshell from the golden age of cinema. But that's exactly who Hedy Lamar was. Born Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler in Vienna, Austria, Hedy grew up in a privileged household where her banker father encouraged her curiosity about how things worked. As a child, she would disassemble and reassemble music boxes, trying to understand their mechanisms. This early tinkering foreshadowed her later innovations. At just 19, she starred in the controversial Czech film Ecstasy, which featured what's considered the first on-screen female orgasm in non-pornographic film. The scandal made her infamous, but it was her marriage that would change the course of her life, and eventually, modern technology. She married Friedrich Mandl, an Austrian arms manufacturer and the third richest man in Austria. Mandl was controlling and possessive, keeping Hedy virtually prisoner in their castle home. But there was an unexpected silver lining. Mandl often discussed military technology with his clients and associates over dinner, with Hedy present but ignored, treated as merely decorative. Little did they know, she was absorbing everything. In 1937, Hedy fled this unhappy marriage, escaping to London where she met MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer. He brought her to Hollywood and transformed her into Hedy Lamar. By day, she starred in films alongside legends like Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy. But by night, in her home laboratory, she worked on inventions. She wasn't just beautiful, she was brilliant. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn that would change the course of modern technology forever. The problem she solved. When World War II broke out, Lamar was deeply troubled. Despite her glamorous new life in America, she couldn't forget what she had seen and heard in Europe. She wanted to help the Allied forces defeat the Nazis, particularly after learning that German U-boats were sinking ships carrying refugee children. The sinking of the SS city of Benares in 1940, which killed 77 children being evacuated from Britain to Canada, especially haunted her. Lamar knew she had to do something. The US Navy was using radio-controlled torpedoes, but they had a fatal flaw. Enemies could easily jam their signals, sending the torpedoes off course. Lamar recognized this problem and set out to solve it. Imagine splitting the screen. On one side, Hedy in a glamorous gown at a premiere. On the other, German U-boats sinking Allied ships while torpedo signals fail. Drawing on knowledge she had gained during her first marriage to the Austrian arms manufacturer, Lamar had a revolutionary idea. What if a torpedo's radio guidance signal could jump between different frequencies? If the signal constantly changed frequencies according to a pattern known only to the sender and receiver, it would be nearly impossible to jam. This wasn't just a good idea, it was a stroke of genius. And it came not from years of engineering training, but from a self-taught actress who understood the problem and saw a solution no one else had considered. The breakthrough. In 1941, Lamar met George Antheil at a dinner party. Antheil wasn't an engineer. He was an avant-garde composer known for creating music for multiple-player pianos that played in synchronization. This seemingly unrelated expertise would prove crucial. Lamar shared her frequency hopping idea with Antheil, who immediately recognized its potential. Together, they developed what they called a secret communication system. Their invention used a mechanism similar to piano rolls to synchronize frequency changes between the transmitter and receiver. Think of it like this. Imagine you and a friend are talking in a crowded room. Every few seconds, you both switch to a different language according to a pattern you've memorized. Anyone eavesdropping would only hear disconnected fragments, making it impossible to understand your conversation. This was revolutionary. On August 11, 1942, Lamar and Antheil were granted U.S. patent number 2,292,387 for their secret communication system. Lamar was just 28 years old. While Thomas Edison had a fully staffed laboratory and corporate backing, Hedy Lamar created world-changing technology in her living room between film shoots. She didn't even have a proper engineering workspace. She used her dining table and the floor of her living room to draft designs. The patent itself is a testament to her ingenuity. It describes a system using 88 frequencies, the same number of keys on a piano, a nod to Antheil's expertise. The frequency changes would happen so quickly and in such a complex pattern that enemy forces would find it virtually impossible to track and jam the signal. The rejection. Excited about their invention, Lamar and Antheil presented it to the U.S. Navy through the National Inventors Council. Their response? Thanks, but no thanks. Military officials dismissed the invention, telling Lamar she'd be more helpful selling war bonds with her celebrity status. The patent was classified and shelved. The Navy claimed the mechanism would be too bulky to fit inside a torpedo, a criticism that completely missed the genius of the concept. One naval officer reportedly told her, "You should use your sexy body entertaining troops, not your brain inventing weapons." The dismissal wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal and sexist. So instead of being recognized as an inventor, Lamar spent the war years raising millions for the war effort by selling kisses at $50,000 per kiss, about $800,000 in today's money. At one war bond rally, she raised $7 million in a single night, more than $100 million in today's currency, all while her groundbreaking invention gathered dust. The rejection wasn't just about technology. It was about who was allowed to be seen as an inventor in 1940s America. The Rediscovery. For decades, Lamar's invention remained forgotten. Her patent expired in 1959, unused. She continued her acting career, never receiving a penny for her invention. But in the late 1950s, engineers at Sylvania Electronic Systems Division rediscovered Lamar's patent. They recognized its potential and began developing technology based on her frequency hopping concept for military communications. By the 1960s, the U.S. military was finally using technology based on Lamar's invention during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The irony is staggering. The same military that had dismissed her idea was now using it for national security at one of the most tense moments of the Cold War. But Lamar received no credit and no compensation. The technology was classified, and her contribution remained hidden from public view. There's a specific reason why Lamar's name was systematically erased from tech history, and it reveals an uncomfortable truth about who we choose to remember and why. When we picture an inventor, we picture a man. When we picture a beautiful woman, we don't imagine her also being a genius. This cognitive bias has robbed countless women of their rightful place in history. The modern impact. Fast forward to today. The frequency-hopping spread-spectrum technology that Lamar invented has become the foundation for much of our modern wireless communication. Wi-Fi? Based on Lamar's technology. Bluetooth uses Lamar's frequency-hopping concept. GPS couldn't function without her invention. Cell phones? They rely on the same principles Lamar developed. Military communications, still using variations of her original concept. Every time you connect to Wi-Fi, send a Bluetooth signal, or use GPS navigation, you're using technology that exists because of Hedy Lamar's brilliant mind. The technology she invented without payment now generates more annual revenue than the entire Hollywood film industry did during her lifetime. We're talking trillions of dollars of value, created by a woman who never saw a cent from it. In fact, if Lamar had received even a tiny fraction of the wealth generated by her invention, say just 0.01%, she would have been one of the richest people in history. Instead, she died with relatively modest means, her contribution to technology largely unknown to the public. While we celebrate Edison for the light bulb and Steve Jobs for the iPhone, Lamar's invention impacts more people daily than either of these men's creations. Yet most history books don't mention her name once. The later years. As Lamar aged, her star in Hollywood faded. The industry that had once celebrated her beauty had little use for her as she grew older. She became increasingly reclusive, rarely leaving her home in Miami Beach. In a cruel twist, the woman whose invention would connect billions of people around the world spent her later years largely disconnected from society. She underwent multiple plastic surgeries in an attempt to preserve the beauty that had defined her public identity. But these procedures often went wrong, further driving her into seclusion. By the 1990s, few people remembered Hedy Lamar, the movie star, and almost no one knew Hedy Lamar, the inventor. She communicated with the outside world primarily by telephone, rarely allowing herself to be photographed or interviewed. The belated recognition. It wasn't until 1997, just 3 years before her death, that Lamar finally received some recognition for her invention. The Electronic Frontier Foundation presented her with their Pioneer Award. When they called to tell her about the award, her first response was, "It's about time." She didn't attend the ceremony in person, but accepted via a pre-recorded statement saying, "It's about time." In 2014, Lamar was posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. The woman once known only for her beauty was finally being recognized for her brilliance. But think about this. Lamar lived to be 85 years old. For 55 years, she watched as technology based on her invention transformed the world, while history books credited men for her ideas. When she died in 2000, most obituaries focused on her film career and beauty, with only brief mentions of her invention, if they mentioned it at all. The forgotten legacy. So why don't we all know Hedy Lamar's name? Why isn't she mentioned alongside Edison, Tesla, and Bell in our history books? Part of it was the sexism of her era. Hollywood studios marketed Lamar exclusively for her beauty, not her brains. When she tried to discuss her inventions in interviews, studio publicists shut her down, insisting she stick to topics like makeup and fashion. "Any girl can be glamorous," Lamar once said with biting sarcasm. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid. But Lamar refused to just stand still. Behind the glamorous facade was a mind constantly working, inventing, creating. She wasn't just a one-hit wonder in the invention world either. Lamar also designed improved traffic lights, a tablet that would dissolve in water to create a carbonated drink, a precursor to fizzy tablets like Alka-Seltzer, and even airplane wing designs for Howard Hughes, who called her a genius. Part of it was the military classification of her patent, which kept it secret for years. And part of it was simply that society wasn't ready to accept that a beautiful woman could also be a brilliant inventor. The erasure wasn't accidental. It was systematic. And it happened to countless women throughout history. The lesson for today. Hedy Lamar's story matters not just because of what she invented, but because of what her story reveals about how we value women's contributions. How many other brilliant women have been forgotten by history? How many female inventors, scientists, and innovators have had their work attributed to men or simply erased? Next time someone underestimates you based on your appearance or background, remember Hedy. Your greatest contribution might come from the part of you others overlook. Lamar's story is a reminder that brilliance doesn't look one way. Inventors don't fit a single mold. And sometimes, the person changing the world might be the last person you'd expect. In Lamar's own words, hope and curiosity about the future seemed better than guarantees. The unknown was always so attractive to me, and still is. The next time you connect to Wi-Fi or use Bluetooth, remember Hedy Lamar. Remember that the technology in your hand exists because a Hollywood actress refused to be defined solely by her appearance. Remember that innovation can come from unexpected places and that brilliance doesn't always receive the recognition it deserves, at least not right away. Hedy Lamar once said, "I don't fear death because I know that I've lived." And what a life it was. Movie star, inventor, pioneer. A woman whose beauty captivated the world, but whose brilliance changed it. If you found this story fascinating, hit subscribe for more hidden histories of the people who shaped our world, but never got the credit they deserved. In our next exploration, we'll uncover another forgotten woman whose invention you use every day. And her story is even more shocking than Lamar's. Curious about more hidden historical treasures? Subscribe to join our expedition into the past. History has more secrets than you think, and we're here to uncover them all. What forgotten story should we explore next? Leave your suggestions in the comments below.